what happens is, what if one of the family visa's petition is denied? Do they get to have an appeal process for it?
Right. So, Shivani, just for a quick recap as to what we did last time, we talked about all the different types of family cases. We, I think, talked about the priority dates, how to look at the priority date. We talked about how to file a petition for, I-130 and 485. Now we are getting into a little bit more specifics on the same subject. So that was a good question with reference to what happens if you get a denial. And it's, not unusual for people to get a denial, especially if you file on your own. Sometimes that can happen. Say you don't submit the proper documentation. For example, I had a case recently where they filed on their own and then there was a request for further evidence and they asked for a birth certificate or some secondary evidence and they didn't provide the proper secondary evidence, which is usually required in lieu of a birth certificate because they didn't understand the RFE or the requirements properly and they denied the case. So uh, there can be other reasons for denial also. Maybe you didn't fill out the form properly. You didn't give information that was required properly. For example, if you were, say, arrested at some point of time or you were in some kind of a trouble with the law and you don't disclose that in your form and you just say there are a lot of questions in the 485. And if you just say no, no, no to everything blindly without reading what the question is, and it's very easy for them to find out if you've been arrested. So if they find out that you have been, that will lead to a denial, most likely. There is some exceptions. For example, if you have a criminal case, if it's a misdemeanor, that is a petty offense with no jail time, then it's possible, of course, that you can appeal that. So what happens if there's a denial? No matter why you got a denial, you can file an appeal for a denial. You have to file the appeal within 33 days if you receive the denial notice by mail. They give you 33 days to file the appeal. The appeal is filed with the Administrative Appeals Office. You can also file a motion to reopen, and that motion to reopen is usually filed with back to the USCIS office. So a supervisor looks at it. It's kind of a second glance at the denial. But the best I think would be to file an appeal because a motion to reopen is considered to be part of the appeal. So they'll first look at it in-house within the USCIS to see whether it's approvable or not. And if they still think it's not, then they'll just send that. Then it's looked at by AO, Administrative Appeals Office. Now you have to remember on an appeal, there has to be some reason for you to appeal. So it has to be because you don't agree with a factual finding. Maybe they've incorrectly determined some fact or incorrectly, not properly looked at some fact, and then they decide that incorrect factual scenario in a case. For example, maybe you entered on a certain date and they actually think that you entered on a certain date because they're mistaken, right? That's a incorrect fact. Also, it could be that they misinterpreted the law. USCIS does that. They don't, sometimes they go as per their own processes and they don't, look at what the actual law is. So that's why attorneys are here and that's why there's an appeal process to remind USCIS of what the law is, right? So you can file an appeal based on an incorrect application of the law or an incorrect law by itself. So there are many ways, and sometimes maybe you did not submit a certain document and that's why they denied the case. But it's possible that at the time that they asked for that document, you did not have it or were not able to obtain it. Then you can file an appeal saying that here, sorry, I couldn't submit the document then, but here's the document. I was able to obtain it, and this is why I was not able to send it the last time. That also
Yes.
could be, grounds for an appeal or a motion to reopen. So if you don't have any grounds, then I mean, you can still appeal. You have to pay the fee again, right? And you most probably have to pay the attorney fee. So you would want to appeal only if you have decent grounds, I would think. But some people appeal because they just want to gain time, right? So if you have the appeal petition pending, you don't have to leave the country. So if you have no other status, say you filed a 485 family based on your spouse or whatever, and it gets denied, if you don't appeal, you have to leave the country immediately because unless you have some other underlying status. But if you appeal for the time that it takes for them to respond to the appeal, finally adjudicate the appeal, you can remain in the country. So some people appeal just to gain time so that perhaps during that time you can find some other solution or maybe you can refile, whatever it might be. Sometimes it might be beneficial to remain in the country for some more time so that you can figure out what your options are.
Yes.
So yeah, appealing can have some advantages as well.
Yes. Do you want to go into the advantages, or do you want me to ask a different question?
No, I just wanted to say that the processing time, I was just going to talk about the processing time. The processing time for the appeal is about 6 months. It can sometimes take a year, can be longer. You have to keep in mind that depending on the reason for the denial, most often than not, AO does not overturn the decision of USCIS. So unless it's a matter of you sending documents which you didn't have before, then it's possible that they'll approve it. But if it's a discussion on the law, mostly AO doesn't overturn these decisions. So in a lot of cases, your appeal may not be successful. So you have to know that before you start the process and not have too many expectations that appeal will get approved. So that is, some information on the appeal, how you can do it, how to do it, and what to expect from it.